Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Padajana Randana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Padajana Randana Yashodanandana Padajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Buddhika Acharya Chaturtha Sri Srimad Divine Grace Shri Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BPT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhika Acharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Dasa Mula Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
On behalf of ISKCON Scarborough, we'd like to humbly welcome you, and we're grateful for your association through this web. So this is for the benefit of the devotees. This is ISKCON Scarborough's 10th virtual Sunday feast class since the arrival of the uninvited COVID-19. So ISKCON Scarborough devotees have not missed a Sunday feast class. And we've had classes on the holy names, meditation from the third canto, different ways to go back home, back to Godhead from Bhagavad Gita, about Lord Dhanvantari, Mother's Day class by Bhakti Marg Swami. And we were fortunate enough to have His Grace Dravida Prabhu's association last week as well on the topic of taking shelter of Krishna in times of danger. It was an apt topic for the times that we are in right now. And today is the topic, and the title of the topic is Dasa Mula, the 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So it's a fascinating topic. So we are hoping that you will be inviting all your family members as well who are in the other room. So this is a great opportunity. So Prabhu will try to cover it today. If not, it'll be completed next week. So, and if you have any questions, please send the questions through the chat box here because we're going to mute everybody, continue to keep everybody on mute. And also please keep your pens and papers ready to take notes. And for those of you who are not who know, I mean, most of you know about Dravida Prabhu, but he's been visiting our Greater Toronto area since the year 2006 for over 13 years, and he attends all our ISKCON Toronto Rath Yatra and dazzles all the visitors at the Center Island with his spiritual poetries and question answer session. So a short bio: Prabhu is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He joined ISKCON in 1973 and has served as an editor and proofreader for Bhaktivedanta Book Trust for over 45 years. Okay, so whatever he's going to give in 1 hour is actually, condensed form of what he has learned in 45 years and what he's preached. So we're very, very grateful and honored to welcome His Grace Dravida Prabhu to this Sunday feast class. Over to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I excuse myself for about 30 seconds. I'm going to get a glass of water. Just hold on.
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry, Krishna. So this is an opportunity in case if you don't have a pen and paper, please, we request you to get one because there'll be definitely fascinating information that you would all like to take down. And also see where the chat button is so that you can send some, and I will consolidate and ask the questions to Prabhu in the last 10 minutes or so.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share the screen now.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. This should be it. There we go.
Yes, we can see it, Prabhu.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to share this slideshow with you. I presented this a few years ago in Chicago. We had a retreat with the Ramapad Maharaj, and devotees were very interested in it. It's always fascinating. And I start out with this quote from Srila Prabhupada about Gaudiya Vaishnava theology being the perfect balance of head and heart. This is from the Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter. A memorable quote: religion without philosophy is sentiment, or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So, of course, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is very, very deep, with so much philosophy. Jeeva Goswami is recognized as one of the greatest philosophers who ever lived. And all of this has come down. Srila Prabhupada's presented it in his books. But at the same time, it's full of love of Godhead. The head and the heart are perfectly balanced. So now we're going to explore this Dasa Mula. And let's see. Okay. So that's... here we go. So these are 10 roots. Dasa Mula means 10 roots. 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, gleaned by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur from Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Bhaktivinoda Thakur's extraordinary erudition and his exhaustive presentation of the philosophy in such books as the Jiva Dharma, as well as his wonderful songs, and just a fount of writings and preaching. And of course, he resurrected the Lord Chaitanya's movement. It had fallen into a lot of misconceptions. And we are wonderful heirs, of course, through his son and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. So this, I'm going to chant this verse, and you can chant along. It's a long verse, and it encompasses these 10 roots of philosophy. Now, this verse is found in a book called the Gauranga Lila Smarana Mangala Stotram. I'm not sure if it's found only there as in its present form that you see it, but this is part of the package that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent to McGill University right there in Montreal in 1896. Srila Prabhupada, so it's very significant that this was the first foray of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in English to come into the Western world. That was his birth year, of course. So this Gauranga Lila Smarana Mangala Stotram, auspicious verses for remembering Gauranga's Lila. Along with that, I think there was a translation with that, Sanskrit verses, 135 verses or so. And then along that was his essay in English, Lord Chaitanya, His Life and Precepts. So this is the 10 roots in this Sanskrit verse. I'll just chant it. Amnaya prahatatvam hadamiha padamam sarvashaktim risabdim tadbinang shangs jivan pakatika balitang tadmukhtang stabhavat Veda Veda Prakasham Sakalam Abhikade Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim Sajam Tat Pritameve Tubadishidi Hare Goda Chandro Vajetam, which means, I worship Lord Gaurachandra, who teaches: 1. The absolute truth can be known only through the Vedic literature. 2. Krishna is the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 3. Krishna possesses infinite and varied potencies. 4. Krishna is the ocean of rasa, relishable, loving exchanges with his devotees. 5. Every soul is Krishna's minute, separated part. 6. Certain souls are swallowed up by Krishna's illusory external energy. 7. Certain souls are released from the grasp of Krishna's illusory external energy. 8. All spiritual and material phenomena are simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. 9. Devotional service to Krishna is the only means of attaining the goal of life. It should say pure devotional service, my fault. 10. Prema, pure love of Krishna, is alone the goal of life. So we'll explore these. I made 1 or 2 slides for each point. Okay, so the first one is Amnaya Prahatatvam. The Vedic literature, received in the parampara of realized souls, alone can give us real knowledge of the absolute truth. Now, the idea that it's received in the Parampara of realized souls. This is very important because, as Prabhupada exhaustively pointed out, especially with a book like the Bhagavad Gita, there have been so many renditions in English and other languages, but they don't come in the line of realized souls. And so they distort the philosophy, and you lose the potency and the benefit as soon as that happens. So that's a very important caveat. Amnaya really means both the Shastra themselves and those who embody the Shastra. As many of you may know, the definition of the Acharya, one who knows the Shastra, who has realized it, who lives by it, and who teaches. Now, why do we need this knowledge? Well, because human beings are beset by 4 defects. And I like to think of them in this order because they kind of follow logically. Imperfect senses, no one can argue that, and the tendency to make mistakes. And when we constantly make a mistake, we become illusion. The most famous mistake is that we think everyone in this material world thinks they're the body. And then when we cheat, means that we propagate that false idea and that illusion. And in this way, andaya tanda rupaniyamana, the blind are leading the blind. So if we want, now, of course, this is all of these points are predicated on someone being interested in achieving the ultimate goal of life. So if we want to achieve that ultimate goal of life, which requires knowledge that is beyond the range of our imperfect senses, we need a superhuman or a parusheya source of knowledge. And that source of knowledge is the Vedic literature, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit of all the Vedas, and realized souls who strictly follow the regulations of the Vedic literature and have realized knowledge, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. So this is always the beginning. This is called epistemology in Western study of philosophy. How do we know what we know? And of course, without this source of knowledge, perfect source of knowledge beyond the range of the imperfect mind and senses, whatever we know is fraught with illusion. It's not that we can't know anything, but whatever we can glean is full of mistakes. And the real problem is we have no clue at all about the vast world, the spiritual world that lies beyond the range of our material senses. So we're trapped in this well of ignorance until we get the mercy and Krishna himself or his representative opens up or comes into this world and canvasses for someone to listen and to hear the real truth. And the fortunate souls who are receptive to that sound vibration and are willing to begin to practice to realize more of it, that's what constitutes the Krishna consciousness movement and Lord Chaitanya's movement. So that's the first one, and there's another page here. So Srila Bhaktivinoda, in his Gauranga Lila Smarana Mangala Stotra, he gives this Amnaya verse, he gives the whole verse, and then he has 10 verses that explore each point. And so this is the one on the first point, the Amnaya Prahatatvam. The quote, I won't do the Sanskrit here, the English. The self-evident Vedas, which have been received in the Sampradaya through the Guru Parampara by recipients of Sri Hari's mercy, such as Brahmaji, are known as Amnaya Vakya. The 9 Prameya Tattvas are established by these Amnaya Vakyas with the help of other sources of evidence that follow the guidance of these scriptures, such as evidence obtained by direct sense perception. Reasoning based only on logic is always ineffectual in the matter of evaluating inconceivable subject matters, since logic and argument have no access to the realm of the inconceivable. So this is a verse which I don't recall in detail, but there's a verse, I think in the Mahabharata, that says, one should not try to apply logic to things that are inconceivable or beyond the realm of logic. This is the great fallacy of Western philosophy. They delve into the subjects such as consciousness and God and relation, but they have no access to this perfect source of knowledge. And so they misguide their followers. This is part of Kali Yuga. You may remember, Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrata, that people are generally lazy in the matter of self-realization and God realization. And even if you happen to be interested, the chances are very high that you will come in contact with someone who is ignorant or misleading or is motivated, materially motivated. And so you'll be misguided and therefore unlucky and always disturbed. So this is one of Prabhupada's great gifts to us, is a reliable source of transcendental knowledge and a society in which devotees are embodying that knowledge and living that knowledge. So this is the first one, and it's foundational to accept the Vedas, and especially the essence of the Vedas as Srila Prabhupada has given it, because the Vedas themselves can also be confusing. With that famous verse from the Mahabharata, Tarko Patishta Shutiyo Vibinna Nasa Vashir Yasamatam Nabindham Dharma Sitapam Hitam Gohayam Mahajano Yenagata Sapanda. Logic, as described in here, always is never gives you a conclusion. Apatishta, you'll never come to a conclusion. Shruti over binna, and even the Shrutis, even the different Vedas, seem to conflict in various places. This is one of the themes at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, when Narada Muni comes to inspire Vyasadeva to write the Bhagavatam. He's already written the Vedas, he's written the Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, the other Puranas, and yet he's dissatisfied because all of those have an element, more or less, of material motivation and so forth. There's not the pure Shastra of the Bhagavatam hadn't been written that solely and wholly deals with Krishna and different avatars, his devotees, the process of devotional service. So that's why at the beginning of Bhagavatam, which is the actual most authoritative commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, Dharma Projitakaita Votra. Here in this Bhagavatam, all cheating religions are given up, all material motivation, there's no karma kanda. So we have to receive the Vedas as emphasized through the Parampara. The self-evident Vedas, which have been received in the Sampradaya through the Guru Parampara by recipients of Sri Hari's mercy, such as Brahmaji, are known as Amnaya Vakya. The 9 Prameya Tattvas are established by these Amnaya Vakyas with the help of other sources of evidence that follow the guidance of these scriptures, such as evidence obtained by direct sense perception. So direct sense perception is fine as long as it's in the service of the higher principle. Just like Prabhupada would use so many analogies that we can easily understand. And Krishna also does in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. Dehi nosmin yata dehi komadam yovanangana jada. Who can deny that we're passing through these ages of childhood and youth and adolescence and middle age, old age? No one. So so immediately you can see, yeah, I'm the knower of all these different ages. So you get an idea that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. But then we have to hear from Krishna, which we cannot perceive, that we pass into another body at death. So logic has its place, but it's subordinate, and it can serve to give us some support for those truths that can only be received from the pure source, Krishna and his representative. Okay, so that's the foundation. Now let's go on to the actual points. And the second, the number 2, which is the first of the 9 points that are supported by the Amnaya Vakya. Ahadamiha Padamam. Lord Hari Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Having accepted the Bhagavatam as the supreme pramana, or evidence of transcendental truth, we must accept the Bhagavatam's statement concerning the identity of the supreme and original source of all. Ete changsa kalapamsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So Jeeva Goswami, I understand, has explained that this verse, or even this line is the Paribhas Sutra of the entire Bhagavatam, means the foundational statement upon which everything rests. And you may or may not know that Rupa Goswami wrote a book called the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. His brother's Briya Bhagavatamrita is more famous and I think precedes it chronologically. But Laghu Bhagavatamrita is dedicated to proving that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We sometimes forget that this was Prabhupada's main preaching point, is to give people an understanding yes, Krishna is the God. You're looking for God, you're worshiping God. Here is the God you're worshiping. Here is the actual God that you may not understand the details about. You may remember that pastime recounted in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, how when Prabhupada was incorporating ISKCON, he dubbed it an International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And one of his followers there was suggesting, well, that's a little narrow. Maybe we should broaden the appeal and just say International Society for God Consciousness. And Prabhupada was adamant to keep it Krishna Consciousness, because that's the whole point, to show people that Krishna is God. And once that is established, people accept that, even theoretically, everything follows. Then and only then does the Bhagavad Gita have its full import. When you really have faith that this is God speaking, and when you read Srila Prabhupada's purports, and you can see the realization there and the faith and all of the erudition, then you have a possibility of actually entering into the house of Bhakti, Srila Prabhupada so eloquently put it. So this I remember way back when we used to actually write physical letters, and each ISKCON center had a letterhead with their address on it, you know. So in Brooklyn, where I joined, the letterhead, of course, at ISKCON Brooklyn gave the address, phone number, but then there was the saying at the top, you know, just below, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, so that you never forget that when you receive a letter. That's the first thing. So this is the first point, that who is God? Who is the Supreme Personality? It's Lord Hari. It's Krishna. And so much of the Bhagavatam, you know, you find all these demons. They don't accept that. They don't want to accept Krishna's supremacy, and therefore they have to be chastised or eliminated. So this is the foundational point of the 9 Prametas, is this that Krishna is God, that Haramiya Paramam. Now, what about his being God? So the next point describes, and the 2 points describe the essential knowledge about him. And of course, each of these points, a whole book can be written, or chapters be written. That's why the Jiva Dharma is such a long book with many chapters, because there's so much to be understood about how he's God, how he acts as the Supreme Personality of God. And the next point is critical, and that is that. I'm sorry. This is still part of the first point. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Krishna confirms his status as the absolute truth. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate. Every one of you should memorize this verse. This is one of the first of the 4 key verses of the Bhagavad Gita. This is in Bhagavatam. We have the Chatra Shloki Bhagavatam. I've never heard it called the Chatra Shloki Gita, but this is a foundational verse. Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Now that's the definition of the Supreme Brahman given in the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra, isn't it? The first one is Atato Brahma Jigyasa, is that now, being a human being, don't waste your time. You should inquire into the Supreme Brahman. And the second one gives you the definition, Janmad Yasya Yataha, that from which or from whom everything has been born or been generated. That's the Supreme Brahman. And the Adi means and sustained and destroyed. And that's described in this a similar verse, corresponding verse, in the Bhagavatam, which is the first of the Chatra Shloki Bhagavatam. And that is, Ahame Vasame Vagre Nandya Yat Sarasat Padam Pushtaraham Miritata Yogashishita Sosmiham. That before anything existed, anything was manifested on the material universes, I existed. After it's all manifested, it's only me, because it's my energy, so I still exist there. And when it's wound up and everything is in annihilation and is merged back in me, I still exist. So that means that's Krishna speaking that, and it's Krishna speaking this verse. So this is confirmation. Okay, he quotes the Janmanyasya verse or aphorism, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes this explanation of the second point, that Krishna is God. Lord Hari, the Supreme Being, is one without a second. Brahma, Shiva, and Indra offer respectful obeisances to him. His bodily effulgence is the impersonal Brahman effulgence, which is free from any material contamination. and the all-pervading supersoul is his partial manifestation. He is the father of the universe and the transcendental lover of Srimati Radharani. His purely spiritual form has the luster of a fresh cloud, a rain cloud. So he deals with various aspects of Krishna's divinity there. And of course, each of these points can be expanded. So that Krishna is the supreme is foundational. And then we're going to learn two essential aspects of the being supreme in the next two points. So we'll go on. Of course, we're just going through very quickly here, and because time is limited. So the next point, 3, is Sarva Shaktim. Hadamiha Paramam Sarva Shaktim. The Lord possesses all varieties of inconceivable energies. Krishna possesses 3 categories of energy: internal energy, marginal energy, external energy. Internal energy has 3 divisions: Sandhini, Sambit, Sandhini, existence; Sambit, knowledge; Ladini, bliss. Now, there's so much that can be said here. Bhagavad Gita gives us this, certainly we learn the external energy in chapter 7, these 7 divisions: Bhuma, Apa, Olano, Vaya, the gross and subtle external energies. Then the marginal energy, above those, Krishna says, those are Apara Prakriti. There's the Para Prakriti, consisting of the living entities who are feeding the universe in different bodies, different forms. And the internal energy, not that much is said about that in the Bhagavad Gita, but Krishna does mention his spiritual abode, that place where you go to and you never return once you return there. So this is, without understanding and accepting the inconceivable energies in the supreme, then one has no access really to understand how Krishna is working. Parasya Shakti Vividhai Vashuyate. Prabhupada quoted that verse extensively, that the Lord has no duties to perform. There's no one equal to or greater than him. And he has unlimited varieties of energy, transcendental. Parasya Shakti Vividhai Vashuyate Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. And through those energies, both internal and external, just by his will and his strength, Swabhavati Jnana Bala, of knowledge and different kinds of strength, he accomplishes everything on both the material and spiritual spheres. So this is Krishna's omnipotence. And through these energies is how we know Krishna himself is not transformed when the world is created. This is the big argument with the Mayavadis, that Krishna, through his energies, can do all kinds of things and still remain unchanged. There's no transformation. He's in Goloka Vrindavan, and it's simultaneously in the hearts of all, as said in the Brahma Samhita. So understanding these is a big part of being Krishna conscious, because we are in the material energy. When we see the world in terms of our understanding that, oh, this is Krishna's external energy, and it's being manipulated by his agents, different demigods, but there's nothing but him in this world. What is that verse? Idami Vishram Bhagavan. Ivani Vishram Bhagavan Ivetara. In Narada Muni, I think teaching Dasa. This world, this universe is Bhagavan, but it seems to be different. Eva Etara, it seems to be different. So that seeing the Lord through his energies is a big part of being Krishna conscious. Okay, going through. Okay, so let's see. All right, the marginal energy comprises the living entities, or jiva souls. The external energy has 8 divisions: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. By means of these internal, marginal, and external energies, wielded personally and through his plenary expansions, Sri Krishna infallibly executes his will both in the spiritual and material worlds. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. And then I quote that verse, Parasya Shakti, Vividhai Vashuyate, Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a summary explanation of this third point. All glories to the Supreme Person, Lord Hari, who eternally remains situated in his own majesty, free from any material transformation or defect. He is non-different from his transcendental potencies. He is the controller of various energies, divided into 3 groups: the superior, transcendental potency, 2, the living entities, and 3, inanimate material nature. So this oneness and difference, this is one of the 9 prameyas that we're going to come to. But that is so important, that Achincha Beta Beta Tattva, that it pervades the different points here, especially this study of the energies. Because through the energies of Krishna, we can see how he's working in this world in all kinds of subtle ways. And that helps us to be Krishna conscious and to realize that we're never out of touch with Krishna, which is a very important platform to be on, to understand Krishna's presence at every moment. Okay, but he's not just a powerhouse, he is Rasabdim. Krishna, number 4, Krishna is an ocean of rasas, the mellows of loving exchanges with his devotees. So this is where the personhood of Krishna comes in. The power, the energies are, of course, ultimately personal also. But he really, the part of Krishna that attracts us and that we want to enter into has to do with the rasa. So the Taittiriya Upanishad 271 declares raso vaisaha, rasam ye vayam labdvanandi bhavati. Krishna himself is rasa, the taste or mellow of a particular relationship. And certainly one who achieves this rasa becomes anandi, filled with bliss. So Prabhupada would often point out from the Vedanta Sutra, Anandamayo Abhyasat, that by understanding Krishna's activities, that's the Abhyasat part, there's full evidence that Krishna is always full of ananda. He's always blissful. And since we're part and parcel of Krishna, then that is our birthright, so to speak. That is our real nature, to be also filled with ananda. But now, in this present material condition, we're certainly not always filled with ananda. In fact, we have little, very brief experiences of what we call happiness, but it's always tinged with the fly in the ointment there is that it's going to end, and that makes it anything but ananda. So we're looking for ananda in all the wrong places in the material world. But we have that as our true nature. And so reviving that through connection with Krishna and of service to Krishna and Krishna's devotees and purification. The purification is the key. This is from Lord Rishabhdev also. He says, don't waste your life. I put it into a little poem. Don't waste your precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. So it's based on it. It's not, the real key is the austerity. Through the divine austerity inherent in bhakti yoga, one can become purify his existence. And from that purification of existence, you gradually become eligible to taste Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam, which is that bliss we're looking for. Because Krishna is all attractive, full in 6 opulences, beauty, strength, knowledge, fame, wealth, and dispassion. He can reciprocate perfectly with any living entity who surrenders to him and directs his loving devotion toward him. Akila Rasamata Murti. So this is the goal of every sincere bhakta, is to enter more and more into a genuine relationship with Krishna and experience this loving exchange with him. That's what real bhakti means. And because Krishna is infinite, he can have an intimate personal relationship with all of his the parcel living entities. And so it's not that we're just looking in from the outside and we can never enter into it. He's so expansive and so merciful that he's willing to reciprocate with us. But it's on us to engage in the purification process with sincerity. And part of it is understanding all of these points of philosophy, as Prabhupada mentions at the beginning, as I quoted that verse. Religion without philosophy is sometimes fanaticism or sentimentality. So we wonder if this foundation of philosophy helps us to be fixed in our devotional service and progress nicely. Okay, so that's Rasabdim, and I think we have time for at least one more. Now he goes to, gives a summary first. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a summary explanation of this 4th point. Krishna's Swarup Shakti, his actual form, empowered with so many energies, possesses three divisions: Ladani, Sambit, and Sandhini. The transcendental loving exchanges created by Ladani Shakti keep Sri Krishna captivated in bliss. The confidential emotions evoked by the Sambit Shakti cause him to relish ever fresh loving exchanges. The spiritual realm of Sri Vrindavan Dham, brilliant and pure, has been manifested by the Sandhini Shakti as the arena for his eternal loving pastimes. Thus, in Sri Vrindavan, Sri Krishna remains ever immersed in the eternal nectar of rasa, the pastimes of divine loving mellows. So this is part of just a little drop of the all attractiveness of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes that should enliven us to work hard to go along the path and become purified so we can experience some of these things. I like to point out, I don't know if I shared with this with you last week, what is it that keeps us motivated to keep moving on the path of devotional service? Because there are undoubtedly roadblocks and obstructions and crises you may have and difficulties. There are two things, basically, and that is of course, the relationship with the spiritual master. We take so many vows, and the sense of duty is there. But at the same time, pervading this is how many times does Srila Prabhupada emphasize the four miseries of material life? Inevitably, we should want to get out of this world. This is Maya Devi, Durga, with her Triton and threefold miseries pushing us from behind. Get moving there. Don't tally here. Don't wait around. That's one side, and it's very important especially for beginning the process, to realize we have a chance to be free of all miseries and attain a state of full happiness. On the other side, and this is unique to Krishna consciousness, the process Bhakti Yoga, and that is the all-attractive nature of Krishna, the pastimes, the name, the qualities, the devotees, the deities, everything about Krishna that's attractive. He's attracting us from in front, and from behind, Maya Devi is giving us this push from the Triton of the threefold miseries. So with all of this, we should be enthusiastic to keep going in the right direction, and with enthusiasm and determination and patience. Okay, let's do one more. We may need to repeat this one next week. But now he turns to the jivas. Number 5, Tadbinangshangsha Jivan. The living entities are separated infinitesimal parts of Krishna. At Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Krishna says, Mamai Vangso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Srila Prabhupada explains, as fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entities also have fragmental portions of his qualities, of which independence is one. Just give me a second here. Okay. Of which independence is one. Every living entity as an individual soul has his personal individuality and a minute form of independence. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul, and by proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. Okay, I'm going to read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a summary explanation of this 5th point. Just as many tiny sparks burst out from a blazing fire, so the innumerable jivas are like atomic spiritual particles in the rays of the spiritual sun, Sri Krishna. Though these jivas are non-different from Krishna, they are also eternally different from him. The eternal difference between the jiva and Krishna is that Krishna is the Lord and Master of Maya Shakti, whereas the jiva can fall under the control of Maya, even in his liberated stage, due to his constitutional nature. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn the phone off. Okay. All right, sorry, we're set. The jiva can fall under the control of Maya, even in his liberated stage, due to his constitutional nature. So this is essential information. What is our constitutional position? We are part and parcel of Krishna, infinitesimal parts. And as infinitesimal parts, as Prabhupada pointed out numerous times, we contain Krishna's, or we possess Krishna's qualities to a minute degree, at least 50/64ths of them. But we haven't manifested them. They're covered to various degrees. Human form of life, they're most obvious, but in lower forms of life, they're more and more covered. So this is our constitutional position. We can never become God. We never die. We never, we haven't come into being. We are Nijayate Mriyate Vakadacha. So understanding our constitutional position is foundational for practicing devotional service. We're trying to perfect or to complete our evolution, if you will. Prabhupada would explain it like that. We've come up through the species, gradually we come to the human form, and the human form of life is the only one in which we can understand these points and then change the way in which we act in this material world. Rather than just the impetus of sense gratification, listening to our senses or our mind, we listen to the sources of knowledge, amnaya, and practice devotional service using these very senses that have been given to us that are pulling us for sense gratification, using those senses in the service of Krishna. And that will be explained in the future points. So we've covered 5 of these points, and maybe we can just review them really quickly, and then we can take any questions. Does that sound okay, Ananda?
Yes, Prabhu, that sounds good.
Okay. So, amnayak prahatatvam hadamiha padamam sarva shakti mrisabdi. The first point has to do with the foundation of our transcendental knowledge, which is the Vedas, and especially Srimad Bhagavatam, and those who are personifying the Vedas, the acharyas, who are conduits or channels by which that knowledge can come down to us. Srila Prabhupada's greatest contribution is his books. He liberated, if you will, this great knowledge from the Sanskrit and Bengali language, which was inaccessible to the West. And through the English, all translations have come through all languages of the world. So that accepting the Amnaya Tattvam, then the question is, well, okay, who is God? And Hadamiha Padamam, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you want to expand on that point, read the Laghu Bhagavatamrita. He goes through all the different incarnations. He shows how they embody a certain portion of Krishna's opulences, and it's quite an exhaustive book. And you come away saying, yes, I understand, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a very important book. So, but what about Krishna? Hadamiha Padamam Sarva Shaktim, and this point of him having different energies through which he accomplishes things in the spiritual and material realms. There's supposed to be the spiritual aspect and the material energies. Ultimately, as Prabhupada said, everything is all spiritual because it's related to Krishna. But in the material realm where we're situated, these energies serve to cover Krishna when we're trying to enjoy separately from him. So it's a kind of a prison house. Durga, you can't go because Maya Devi is keeping the bars on. So, but understanding how these energies are related to Krishna, then we can take instruction how to use them in order to enter into the spiritual energy, or rather choose that energy to control us, to serve the spiritual energy, serve Krishna rather than the material energy. And therefore he says, Sarva Shakti Mrisabdim. And by acting according to the instructions of Shastra, we gradually start to experience real pleasure, which is based on this idea of rasa, or relationship with Krishna. In one of that, I'm sure many of you are familiar with one of these 5 main rasas, but in a specific variety and a specific taste that is unique to each individual. So that's and then the last point we touched on was the jivas, their constitutional position as part and parcel of Krishna. Bhinangsha means separated. We never merge. But right at the beginning of Krishna's instructions, 2nd verse, he speaks, never was it a time that I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor the future shall we ever cease to be. So that eternal individuality, which is very straight against Mayavad, is a very essential point. And how our individuality manifests in relation to Krishna, that's what the process of bhakti does through purification. So I'll stop there if there's any comments or questions.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So there's been some questions that were sent through the chat line. So one of the questions is with regard to the last point that you covered, Prabhu, with regard to the soul, which is non-different from Lord Krishna, which is eternal.
Yeah.
But so just wanted to get your guidance on how do we understand a verse, in the 11th canto, for example, when Lord Krishna is explaining to Uddhava, Nrideha Madhyam Sulabham Sudurlabham, verse where he says, killer of your own soul. So what does that killer of the soul mean? Whereas na jayate mriteva kanachin.
Yeah, that's a labda sudurlabham vidam bahusambhavanti.
Nadeha Madhyam Sulabham Sudurlabham Plavam Sukham.
The boat.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor. The soul cannot be slain. I mean, that's throughout the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You can't destroy the soul. But what you can do is, kill your chances for understanding soul for a very, very long time. In other words, we have the human form of life. It's after many, many years, many, many births, who can count. And now we have the chance to, it's very rare, the human form of life. But like all forms, it's temporary. But you can get the supreme artha, or the supreme goal of life. So therefore, the instruction in that verse, which Krishna, I think, also says, Turnam yateta napateta namritaya, but as long as you're still alive and you have your senses about you, then strive without wasting time immediately for the ultimate good, which is reinstatement in our constitutional position as eternal servants of Krishna, going back to Gaudiya, Prabhupada. So if we fail to do that, then we remain, absorbed in the ordinary material consciousness. And especially in this age, the chances are very high that we'll perform all kinds of sinful activity and even lose the human form of life. So that's tantamount. It's not obviously killing the soul, but it's postponing for hundreds, thousands, who knows how many years, this great opportunity. So that's what it means. You literally, the same thing as in the Vritta Tarshai Rupagiyamana verse, by Parikati speaks. Who would not be attracted to this, drinking this medicine for curing birth and death? The vibrations about glorifying the Lord spoken by pure devotees. Only those who are meat eaters or who are killing themselves. Meat eating is such a vicious activity that it covers your receptivity, so to speak. So it's the same idea. You're not, you're killing your chance for who knows how many years. It's a height of foolishness and failure of human life. That's what it means.
Wonderful.
Not literally. Yeah.
Thank you. So a few more questions. All-pervading super soul is his partial manifestation. So there is a request to explain that. How is the all-pervading super soul is partial manifestation?
Yeah, these partial manifestations. I mean, they're many. It means that Krishna expands through the super soul, and the super soul is non-different from Krishna, but he doesn't possess or display all of Krishna's opulences. In other words, the super soul is there in the heart, and he provides, as we know from Bhagavad Gita, remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. He's the source of our conscience. He's giving us our intelligence of what to do and how to fulfill our karma. And he's also trying to instruct us in the higher knowledge, but we can't hear him directly. So it's an expansion of Krishna for a specific purpose. He's sustaining the universe. He's guiding the living entities in their karmic, complicated activities in this material world. But he's just like the two birds in the tree analogy, which is in the Bhagavatam, by the way. We always quote the Upanishads, but it's there in 11th canto as well. And that is that the super soul is our friend. Krishna says, he's a friend. And he's trying to help us, but we're so foolish that we can't listen to him. So he comes outside. He appears as the preceptor, the pure devotee, and as the Shastra to instruct us from outside. When we study Bhagavad Gita and we accept the teachings, we're getting instruction from the Supersoul. That's Krishna speaking on the battlefield when we understand it's the same personality. But it's in a form that we can hear and understand and accept. The Supersoul directly is, we're not pure enough to hear his guidance. When we become pure, we can take direct instruction from the Supersoul. As Prabhupada pointed out many times, he was doing that, Krishna in the heart. So that's you know, the Supersoul is not the only expansion like that. You have the Purusha avatars. Of course, the Supersoul is Chiradakshay Vishnu expanded, but they have a certain function. You know, those Vishnus, they don't play the flute, they don't dance with the gopis. You know, they have that function of creating and maintaining and destroying the universes, as you well know, Mahavishnu, Gaudiya, Vishnu, like that. So that's how Krishna works. He has these plenary expansions and partial expansions, and through them he does so many things that are necessary for the material in the material world. And so that's what the Supersoul is, an expansion of Chiradakshay Vishnu in everyone's heart and in every atom for the sustenance of this material world and for the guidance of the conditioned souls.
Wonderful, Prabhu. So a few more questions are coming. So another question is, Lord Narayan, so is he Mahavishnu or Garbhodakashayi Vishnu or Shirodakashayi Vishnu?
Lord Narayan, he's an expansion of the second Sankarshan of the Chaturvyuha. There's two manifestations of the Chaturvyuha, and the Lord Narayan. Let's see, he's the reservoir of all the souls. That's why he's Narayana. That's where they all reside. That's where they all rest. So I think you can identify him with Mahavishnu. He seems to be the one that, you know, that closely doing that. But with Narayan, you also see that he's there with Lakshmi Narayan. For Mahavishnu, he's always been doing that function of lying and breathing out and breathing in, and you know, there's more to Narayan. I think Narayan is in the Vaikuntha planets, and he has. So I think he's the Vishnus are expansions of Narayan and of the Chaturvyuha. But I'd have to review to find exactly how he would explain it. Okay. But he has there's more going on with Narayan, pastimes and things than you have with Mahavishnu.
That's right. Okay, Prabhu. Wonderful. So there are a few more questions as well. So if I can quickly read them out to you. One is, what are the opulences of the plenary portion as compared to the Supreme Lord?
Well, you can read the Nectar of Devotion, or they're also listed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the 64 qualities of Krishna. Of course, it warns us there are actually an ocean of them, but these are the 64 main ones. And very nice, Prabhupada would often refer to in percentages. I think the human beings can have 78%. That's the first 50. And you know, some of those qualities, you know, humility actually, and skill in speaking and things. Obviously, human beings can have them, but Krishna has them all in perfection. We can have them partially. So then there's 5 that are beyond, that human beings don't have, but that Lord Shiva can have, including omniscience, although it's not on the same level of omniscience as Krishna, but he's omniscient related to us, compared to us. He's eternally in his Sarup. He has all his Shaktis. Ata Panchagunayesha Angshena Sada Sarupa Sampratak Sarvagyo Nitya Nutanak, always youthful. Satchidananda Sandranga. His body is Satchidananda. It's not made of ordinary matter. Sarva Siddhi, and he has all the yogic siddhis in perfection. So those are 5 that Shiva can have, but we can't have. Then there's 5 that even Shiva can't have, and this is possessed by the Vishnus. You know, what is it? Ata Panchaguna Angshena Girisha Ata Kena. I forget, but the Sanskrit. But it's like whoever he kills is liberated. Is source of all incarnations. The universes, I think, is referring to Mahavishnu, the emanating, like that. And then there's 4 that that Krishna has that no one else has. None of the Vishnus have, and that is he plays the flute. He has the rasa dance. He's surrounded by loving devotees, the gopis. Sarva Bhuta Chamatkara Lila Kalola Vavadi. He's an ocean of Lila that's astounded everyone in the universe. And his unsurpassed beauty and opulence are beyond any other incarnation. So the idea is that these other incarnations, say Lord Ram, for instance, he was very beautiful and attractive. The sages in Naimisharanya wanted to have a conjugal relation with him. But he said, no, I have only one patni in this life, and you'll have to come back as gopis, which they did. So they manifest some portion of Krishna's beauty, the six opulences, jnana, knowledge and beauty and opulence, and fame and wisdom and renunciation, which really is dispassion. I bet dispassion is indifference to material things. But they can't have it in the same degree that he has. Sometimes they may not manifest any of a certain quality, but it's Krishna. All of these plenary expansions, all Matsya Avatar, Varaha, the Shringadev, Ram, they're Krishna, but they're not displaying his six opulences in full. There's one or more of them is diminished or hidden. So that's the difference. Only Krishna has all these six, and in his pastimes he displays them. Sometimes he also hides, like his power, to increase the rasa, because ultimately everything is in the service of the rasa. Rasa vaisa. So he'll hide his, certainly his omniscience. He'll go looking for Radharani, where is she, or something. Of course, he knows all that. But he hides that even from himself so that he can experience the rasa of searching and all this stuff going on.
Wonderful, Prabhu. So we have a few more minutes. So if you can,
Okay.
I'm just going to randomly select two more questions here. So in Dwaraka, when Lord Krishna looked at himself at his reflection, he was attracted to how beautiful he looked. So which of his superior Shakti was acting, Samvit or Ladini?
I would say Ladini Shakti. Yeah, he was. From there, of course, came the idea. As we learned from appearing as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima. There's these three internal reasons for Lord Krishna's appearing as Lord Chaitanya, and they're very closely aligned with that verse. He wanted to experience the glory of Srimati Radharani's love and the pleasure she was experiencing, from loving him, and then his own qualities that she's experiencing through the inimitable lens of her love. She experiences and she appreciates Krishna's beauty more than anyone else, even more than Krishna could appreciate. That's the whole point of that pastime. He's looking at his reflection and he's very attracted, but he can't appreciate it as much as he knows Radharani's appreciating it because she has love for him. And then he wanted to experience the bliss that she feels from loving him and being loved by him. That's the third reason. So she wants the glory of her love, his own qualities that she experiences uniquely through her love, and the pleasure she experiences by loving him and by being loved by him. So therefore he had to come as Srimati Radharani, in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And that's why he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Wonderful, Prabhu. So we'll maybe conclude with one last question. So
Okay.
This is with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire universe. So 1042. So so this what he's asking, does it mean the whole universe is Krishna?
In one sense, it is Krishna. That single fragment is the super soul expansion. It's Krishna, but it's not Krishna. It's Krishna because it's his energy. It's connected intimately to him, and it's pervaded by his expansion and super soul. So by the whole point of the 10th chapter and the 7th chapter describing the energies and all this is to give us a way of living in the material world and increasing our Krishna consciousness by seeing Krishna through his energies, you see. And the thing is, the catch-22, if you will, or the caveat is, you can only see that and remember Krishna through his energies when your mood is to use those energies as far as possible in Krishna's service. If you're trying to enjoy them, then that immediately Maya covers you over and you forget about Krishna. That's the whole problem. we've been trying to enjoy these energies for so long that we're used to that. So we have to reform our mentality and seeing each tree as you know, there's a soul in there, part and parcel of Krishna. This is his energy, and you know, and whatever we can use in Krishna service, to use it that way. And especially, you know, you can use the material energy in preaching to connect people to Krishna consciousness. And you can point out, oh, there's the ocean. It says right in the Gita how Krishna is the bodies of water, is the ocean. So you're using the ocean, you know, as a means of teaching others how to see Krishna. And that way you remain on the transcendental platform.
Wonderful, Prabhu.
Okay.
So we are so honored and grateful to having your association today, and for the devotees who were able to join us from the beginning. So this was the 10th virtual class, and His Grace Dravida Prabhu joined us live from San Diego, and the topic was Dasa Mula, the 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And Prabhu covered 5 of the 10 points today, and we will continue this session next week, same time, through the same Zoom link.
Okay. I just wanted to end with do we have 30 seconds? Can I have
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so I'm going to end with something sweet. I think this is a Vedic injunction. And this is a very sweet verse by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was such a great scholar. You know, as soon as he got the revelation of Lord Chaitanya and he, you know, surrendered, he had composed 100 verses in Sanskrit off the bat, right off the bat. And some of them are very wonderful. This is one from the Pajavali that's included. I don't know, some of you may not have heard this before. It's a very unusual verse because every syllable is long. Barhapidam maulau bibrad vangshi naranatan van nana kalpa shri sampanno gopa strivir sambita netanandam kurvan krishna tumchat visvak viksheta sarve kamak sampadyera asmakam vidyasina. Decked with crown of peacock plumes and chanting songs with flute you sing, wearing lovely ornaments while standing in the gopis' ring. Dear most Krishna, eyes delight, if you will kindly glance our way, all our heart's desires will be fulfilled on this most blessed day.
Wonderful, Prabhu. So great. Thank you so much, Prabhu. And thank you to everyone who had joined this Zoom call today. And Prabhu will continue next Sunday, same time. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol, voice Prabhupada.
All goes to Prabhupada.